is at a high that's over where the break occurred. Often that's a second wave, and this is a fourth wave. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This would be a fourth wave or another second, and the displacement is the same. If it was lower and I was comparing it, and I use 14-period RSI or the composite for that more than stochastics, it shows that I'm of lesser degree. Now, and only now, did he start to get into stochastics. It's all about the details, and it's all in the materials that I'm going to be giving you. And here's just to touch on it. Divergence, he'd make a strong point. There's no such thing as bullish divergence because your angles are converging. Well, that's true, but you're not going to change the industry on this point. We call them both divergence. But he's correct. He also talks about the crossover of percentage K, percentage D, and if you're on the left-hand side versus the right-hand side, and usually it rectifies itself as a second test if it only crossed on the left-hand side. What also does that probably mean as you study with volume is that was higher volume and this would be lower volume. Here you've got divergence, but he also says that divergence in just percentage K is okay. Some of his trading charts, what he calls divergence, is not going to be a classic sloping angle. You're going to have to really study those very closely. Stochastics can break above 100. I remember asking that question because before the course, I was plugging into CompuTrack and discovered I could get just playing around stochastics over 100. So of course I can go over 100. But here's the explanation. When percentage K first makes its turn, don't wait for D to turn, get out. Here's another reference to why you've got to purge your head to 2080. Here, you're getting what's called, he has a formation, and that's why percentage K has to be 5, not 3, or you don't get the formation. It just crosses through. What he would call an E, what we would simply call as percentage K is using percentage D as support. And here, percentage K is being used as resistance on D. And he's talking about sometimes when you come into the 25 area and we see an E, it may only be 10% of the move. That's true because that might be where you're hitting the third wave on the way down when you're talking about an Elliott wave pattern. So I know I'm shocking some folks, which is good. That means you'll read the material very closely. Now, it was months and months, actually probably 3 or 4 years later that I realized positive negative reversals were introduced by George Lane. Nobody in RSI came well before anybody was discussing this in RSI. When you have a higher price and a lower oscillator pivot low, it simply is indicating that you are oversold at a higher price, showing some strength. The same with regards to a trap for a bull. Here I'm at a lower price. The RSI, the stochastics is meaning a higher price. Now, in technical analysis for the trading professional, I reference a price projection, and I'm telling you to take those pages out of the book. The reason is that the volatility in the market, people started using that not for analysis, but for trading. And that's a method that's used. All of these oscillators only see the closing price. So in this case, you don't want to be doing a price projection based on closing prices. There are more accurate ways to be able to do that. Maybe someday on one of our IFTA monthly conferences, we can do one for you just on price projection, because there are lots of different ways to come up with prices. Here is a chart that I can really hit home. I had copied just a small portion for you earlier. Excuse me, I'm getting over COVID, and so I was hoping my lungs weren't going to give out. But we'll carry on. High volume and low volume. You're looking at a relative. When you look at classic teachings of volume, you start from here and you draw a general trend line, kind of the mean, and you'd say declining volume. Well, That's a different application. And that's true of many indicators, that if you're a trader, there might be one way to use the indicator and another way if you're a portfolio manager in terms of what it is that you trade. All of his charts are going to be 5 and 4 minute bar charts. Now we're going to start, and here's the story of what happened, is that I'm going to be giving you, I stopped counting after 80 charts. They start October 31st. So this is a trading, they won't have a number in here, which means there were his trading charts. And he would, at the end of each trading session, print out all his charts, make marks in terms of what he saw, where his trades were, calculated his net profit for the day. He would recommend keeping the checklist beside you. And what you actually have is every single 5 minute bar chart, consecutive, unbroken, including Thanksgiving, holidays, Christmas, into February of the following year. And you'll see every single trade on every single day. And it was a package, a fairly large package of charts, as you could imagine. And at the end of the class, all George said is, would you like a few more charts to study? And the 7 guys that were walking out of the room all gave answers like, well, one person actually who was in front of me took the charts and saw that it didn't have 3 holes in it and gave it back to him. Said, I can't fit it in my binder. The guy in front of him says, I got too much weight. I got to be able to I've got to carry this through the airport. What he was handing to all of us were all these charts he'd prepared for every single day. I didn't know anything. I'm the newbie. I need everything. So I say, yes, please. Thank you very much. I remember he turned around and just grinned. I guess he knew I was going to be a lifetime hooked addict to the markets. And then when I had taken it and said, thank you, he said, the 3 hole punches in the back of the room. And I went back and put in the holes that you'll find. But you're going to see tremendous information in all of these charts. You're going to see where he was contemplating, will you be able to get over? Am I going to get my trigger? Because I already had my oscillator signal. Everything was lined up. No, he actually identifies it. And so this package of information, I'm really excited to be able to share, because when I was doing the research on the what's out there in internet, and George Lane's charts didn't exist. It just was run amok in terms of how people were describing it was used. So this is where I live. If you come to visit, you will see this is an untouched photo. These are the Blue Ridge Mountains of North Carolina. I'm using that because if you don't remember my presentation, you are going to remember my Blue Mountains. And hopefully some of you will come to visit. What you need to know is that I've copied this document the way I've created the magazine. And that is, you've got to be able to download it onto a laptop. It's designed to have a left and a right page. The front page cover might be a single page. Your phone wants to take everything and squish it. You'll never see any of its notations, and you certainly won't have a left and right page. And many of the charts, to make sure it was the correct scale, have been digitized in the original manual so that it crosses a page and a half and so forth. The other thing to know, and this is also true, please, of the magazine, you can use Control L to toggle. You want this to be in full screen view. You want a black background, and how you know you're in full screen is your pages will have a solid black like this around you. And what this does is ensures that what you're seeing is the original ratio of what the original document was. So like in the magazine, all the colors will pop because they'll duplicate exactly what was on my screen. I want to keep the wow factor. So use Control L to toggle. It'll drop it back down. And if you have a gray background, you're not in the correct aspect ratio for the image. So what I want to do is, with the time that we have left, is pass on to you. I'm going to stop sharing. And I got to exit that, close that down. And I need to be able to do a chat. Not too sure how to pass on. Participants, stop video. There it is, Q&A. Awesome. Let me just open this up and I'm going to carpet bomb you with a bunch of links. Most important one. Let's see. Okay. All right. I see the question that you have. How do I get into chat, Peter? I need to be able to pass on links for people. Chat is here.
Connie,
There we go.
I don't think we have chat turned on for the speakers since the comments are coming in to me. But what we can do is we can deliver your whatever you want to deliver to them. We can deliver to all of the registrants in one delivery and copy you on that if you'd like.
Okay, let's do that. And so people understand, when you are given a PDF link, there's no hanky-panky to any of my links. You'll just start a download. And you want to download directly to your laptop. You won't be asked to register. There won't be any cookies planted in whatever it is you're working in, because that personally sends me up a wall. If I'm trying to get the information and suddenly I have to answer all this information, and no, nothing. You'll be given the link. It goes, I like this idea a lot, Peter, because I want to make sure everybody doesn't download the same time and crash my website.
Okay.
So